All right, all right.
Saturday is tea. I want to take a couple minutes before anybody's joined and to kind of give everybody, just so you don't think you stumble upon a random live, and those of you who have been following me, man, I really appreciate it. And I think that people have it mixed from school. They think that I'm somebody that's angry or bending or whatever, but let me just bring it full circle for you. And just so you think that this is not going anywhere, or I don't have a purpose or a plan for what I'm doing, I'm bringing all the pieces together. It's just like a puzzle. The first thing you got to do is empty the box. You empty the box and you let everybody see the pieces. Once I see the pieces, then I'm going to use you guys to help me bring the pieces together. Um, some people think that this is um, a game or it's a firestorm where I'm just hurling insults or accusations about people. You know what I mean? When I say something, most of the time I post pictures behind it. I can't give you everything because everything, the rest of what I have, really belongs to the Department of Justice. And so, again, for those of you, if I've stepped on your toes, man, get them out of the aisle. And if they're in the aisle, that means that you've offended somebody um, through your actions, through your misgivings, through your misdoing, through your cover-ups, and through your mental, physical, and sexual harassment. If that be you, I'm talking to you. And so uh, I'm Chaplain Clifton. No longer with the MDOC, but still Chaplain Clifton nonetheless. I'm a person I'm formerly incarcerated, you know what I mean, after doing 23 years in federal prison. And while inside there, I wrote the staff up and the administration all the way to Washington, D.C. to correct some of the misappropriation of funds, misdeed, misgiving, harassment, and a lot of things that were wrong according to the program statement. And so the MDOC, after getting out in 2020, I had the opportunity to become part of the MDOC structure. And so in doing so, I gave 110 every day. I work with families of incarcerated men and women to get people to funerals. I work hard to develop reentry program. I work hard every day to be the beacon of light for people who are incarcerated. So if you think that this is just something because I don't have time, I invest a lot of time in this, putting together tablets and tablets of information and collecting evidence so that I'm going to find a way to submit it to the DOJ real soon. So there's a method to my madness, so to speak. So those of you who are jumping on and don't really understand what's going on, if you're afraid to speak, if you're afraid to join on, if you're afraid to listen, then that's fine, man. Then get on out the way. Get in the back and look. You know what I mean? Don't watch. Don't watch. If you're not gonna be a part of the solution, man, you know what I mean, then you're a part of the problem. You can't stand idly by and watch people continue to inflict wrong upon people, especially if they're people, African American people, or white. A lot of Caucasians or white have been caught up in this same madness because they stood up for what was right at SMCI, at CMCF, at Parchman, and throughout all these Marshall County, Greene County. And so I'm a person, man, that stands up for right no matter what's going on. And so today, today, Saturday, March 8th, Saturday, May 18th, I want to let you know that there's a method to my madness. I'm just not putting out information for you to entertain you or to be someone who can, that you can just say you want to jump on for entertainment. Man, these are facts and it's happening to everyday people. It's bad that when people, especially my people, African Americans or righteous people, black or white, have to work in conditions that oppress their beliefs uh, and their way of doing things from a small minority of people that doesn't have the interest of the state at hand, or the interest of incarcerated people at hand, or the interest of reentry or rehabilitation. rehabilitation at hand. You know, when we have an administration that preys upon the fears of people who get up and come to work every day because you're in an impoverished area, you know you need this job. It's the best paying job in that system. So then we think about we're likened to how people did us back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You know, after we start coming into the period after the Harlem Renaissance, into where we became a collective people who were bound together by family, and our families work hard to try to keep us together so we can have things. We farm in the South. We farm, did agriculture, and we shared things. We shared things in the South, and we brought families together so that we could become better families and everything. So, you know, today I want this to be understood, man, that there's a method to my madness, and when you see the outcome of the righteous prevail, then I think that you will be, you know, surprised. If you stood on the sidelines and watch, it don't matter. If you got in the fight, however, you know, by sending me evidence of wrongdoing or providing me an avenue of a person that was mistreated, and I'm going to be able to help them or provide an avenue for them to help themselves, then I thank you. But if you were standing out of the bar, man, then you're just as guilty as those who are perpetrating the evils among your people. And so I think that when we sit on the sidelines and watch our people be trampled upon, then we're just as guilty, man, no matter what position, whether you're a regular correction officer, whether you're a case manager, whether you're a secretary, or whether you're just a layperson, a volunteer that goes in and preach, or whether it's Kairos or some of the various churches that goes in and you don't say anything, then you're just as guilty, man. You're a big part of the problem. And so hey, Ms. Mills, so I just want to take this time out to clarify, man, that there's a method to my madness, man. I'm going to make some progress, and I'm going to break it down to you. So I'm a person that served 23 years, like I said before, and I don't have anything to hide. I don't have any fear of anybody or any man or woman that put their shoes on like me. You know what I mean? And so I just want you to know that when I finish, man, we're going to get some results. And I'm hoping to spark a bit of courage into everybody who's more worried about their job than the righteousness of people, so we can fight against all these injustices that are going on. Now, in the coming weeks, in the coming days, in the coming weeks, there's not going to be a set time or schedule. You can go back and watch it. The videos are going to be recorded. They're going to be on my YouTube channel, Sale with Sibby, so you can go back and watch them. And so today I'm going to jump around because I'm going to post a series of posts on Facebook and YouTube and other social media platforms, Instagram, to where I'm going to divide these things up into SMCI, CMCF, and Parchment. Those are the three main prisons. And then I'm going to hit up on those outer places like Greene County, Wilkerson County, Marshall County, Walnut Grove, and the different things that are going on with prisons there. But you know, let me start at my favorite. The one thing I want to do, I want to start on my favorite. My favorite is going to be the place where I started working. Where I had the first place I had the opportunity to work when I got home. 7 months later, I was going back inside of the prison. I got hired as a chaplain / reentry coordinator, where I went in to develop programs. Now, the thing that I noticed, that a lot of staff who have been there a long time didn't want the reentry part. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Hey, baby, mute yourself, baby. You're coming in through the thing. So the people wanted to, the people wanted to, yeah. And so, yeah. And so one of the things, yeah, click join, baby. So your voice was coming through. Yeah. The one thing I want you to understand is that I had an opportunity to, after serving 23 years, God granted me an opportunity to go back inside to change the lives of men at Parchment. You know, we had the rise in 2019, and it was a national, worldwide event. I used to see them on CNN inside to where the administration was putting uh, African American men and women and whites, Hispanic and everything. They had an all-out gang war. You know what I mean? It's a little bit different than the feds. Feds have cars, but in the state they have gangs. So they had an all-out gang war. And so when I went to Parsons, got hired as a reentry coordinator, I was tasked with going in to pick one of the camps that I want. We had 29, 30, 26, 28, and a couple other camps, 25, you know what I mean? 31, 42. So I chose 29 because 29 was where the ride started. It was also death row. And I figured if I could go in there and change the mentality of dudes, then I could go in, I could begin to change how the system was. And so in doing so, the administration didn't want to see the men change mentally. They didn't want them to have a focus beyond the walls. They wanted to keep their minds trapped inside. It's easier to control a dog when you have him in a cage that he thinks that he knows every day that he's got the same routine. He's got food, chow, everything. You know, it's easier to control an animal when you keep him in a cage and you don't give him any mental aspect or any knowledge of what's outside of that cage. The problem comes when guys can dream beyond the wall. Like my brother Swan, he's came home and written a play and brought it into fruition. For a long time, he was inside of that wall, trapped with the ins and outs of the everyday life inside of that wall. But God allowed him to transform himself beyond the walls through his gift of playwriting. You know what I mean? And so my job was to incite or to spark or ignite a creative instinct within those offenders who were at 29. And so everything that I wrote for them, the trauma, the first thing I wanted to deal with was the trauma of being incarcerated. At Unit 29, it's a lockdown. They got Division 1 and Division 2. Division 2 was a lockdown side to where you got PC, you got A custody or C custody, the red and white, guys who have gotten in trouble in other places of the state, so they send them there. They're red and white. And then, Mississippi used this mentality classification where they have stripes. It's in the legislature. They voted to wear stripes. You got red and white, black and white, green and white. Green and white are your people, your trustees who can go outside the walls and work. Your black and white are guys who have a little bit longer time, but they're not allowed to go outside to work. Your red and white are allegedly supposed to be your most violent people. And then we have death row who are all red. They've been condemned to die by the judicial system. So, but the thing is, right before I came, a couple of people had just got out death row, so I wanted them to have instances of rehabilitation too, because at any moment they could be given immediate release and they don't have any connection to the outside world. So my focus was mainly the guys on the Division 2 side to bring them programs. So I started a series of book clubs to where I began with death row, and author activist Brittany Barnett donated the books. And it was the first time that these guys had ever been out together in the history of Parchment where they could socialize with each other. You know what I mean? And so now, today, they're instead of them being locked down 23-1, they come out from 6 to 6 in the morning, and they practice on plays. They have a garden. They go out and do their rec at their own leisure between 6 and 6, just like the other men within the penitentiary. So that's a big step in the social psyche of individuals who are incarcerated. Yes, he's condemned to die, but in the meantime, on his way, they fight every day for their cases, but on his way to dying, he can get some sense of hope and peace through his literature, his writing, or whatever. But the administration don't like change, because when there's change within a system, a guy realizes that he's human and he wants to ascribe or aspire to more. And so we have an administration now, after Mr. Morrison left, you got a guy that came from probation, Batman, as you all know who I'm talking about, the superintendent down there, You come from probation. You never had any experience running an institution. So you come in and thinking that hollering and screaming is the way to control the people. Even your staff, you holler and scream at your staff louder than you holler and scream at your workers. I mean, your inmate workers are the ones who are assigned. And you give them more. You took all the golf carts, all the 4x4s from the staff, and you give them to your inmates. Those ones who took care of your father when he was down here, housed down here at the same institution. And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna post a policy statement where it's illegal for a person who's running an institution to have a relative at that same institution because of nepotism, because of misguided judgment. The same way it's illegal for him to have a member of his family, be it wife, be it uncle, or somebody that he supervised at the same institution, because how can you judge or reprimand a person that you love or you go home with every day if you're their supervisor? If they get into it with another staff, whose side are you going to take? And so it's stated in SOP in the bureau, and I'm going to post that later in my segment that's going to be on MSPs, because the same thing is happening at SMCI, and some of the same things. It's not happening at CMCF that I know about yet. You know what I mean? And so I want to post that so you can see how wrong you are for having your wife as secretary, and at the same institution where you govern, where other staff have to send her emails to get to you. They have to call her and get to you. You know what I mean? You're wrong on so many levels. And then you say that MSP doesn't have any money, yet and still you're building a pavilion out by the fish pond. Are you buying it with your money? If you are, it's illegal. Is it donated? Then who is it donated from? It could be illegal. And if it is, this should be known to the taxpayers of this state. There's a freeze on everything that's being purchased within MDOC, from the top to the bottom, to the east and the west. So how are you magically building this pavilion out by the fishing pond? And who are you building it for? Are the inmates going to be allowed, the A-custom inmate going to be allowed to go out there and fish? Or is it for the staff? Is it for you to have family day? For whatever the reason, where is the money coming from? And what happened to the money in the inmate trust fund? Each institution has, the state has an inmate welfare trust fund. When I started there, it was 1.2 million. When I left there, it was 1.9. And this is public record. You can go look at on the books, and you can see how much it was and how much it is now. Where did that money go? It's for use to help inmate programs. And how is it that inmates there and at CMCL has taken the G&D, and you can't pay for, they can't get their test results because you can't pay for the high set, because quote unquote you say that there's no money in the inmate welfare fund. You know what I mean? So why have them to even go through the problem of studying for their GED, and you give them the high set test, yet and still you can't pay for it because allegedly there's no money in the inmate welfare fund. Take some of that money that you're building the pavilion and pay for those 60 high set tests. Batman. Take some of that money that you're getting, the money that you and your staff are not paying for at the place when you go and eat daily. When you have crab legs and all type of seafood or crab balls that your staff is eating for free at the place. Take some of that money that you're not paying for. Pay for your meals and take some of that money. You disbanded all the clubs. What happened to the money that all the other clubs made? You know what I mean? Where is it at? Where is it at? Each institution has its own club and its own money. It's not a state-run thing. It's an individual institution. Where's the money? Where's the money that was in those clubs? You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? This is the SMCI. You know, you're taking the GED class twice and still no GED because you don't have the money to pay for the high set test to be certified and graded. You know. So where's that money coming from? You say you're about rehabilitation, but you're pencil whooping your classes. You got guys from another institution taking classes at MSP that are getting certified in the automotive class, and you know that they're not at MSP. They're at at CMCF or there at Greene County, how is he taking a test? How is he taking a test? How is he taking a class and a course and a test on the computer? The automotive class is on the computer at MSP. How is he getting certified for? And of course, they're not the same color as me. You know, how is he taking a test at MSP and getting certified through that test? So there has to be a real fine line of misappropriation of funds. And I think Shad White would be more than happy to look into it and to just check and see. I want to know where you're getting the money from to build this big old pretty pavilion. You know what I mean? That you have with the concrete slab and the fine tin and timber that you're putting on top of it, the aluminum roof that you're going to have. Man, that stuff costs money. Wood is one of the highest things that went up since the pandemic because there was a shortage of good, great and good fine wood. So where are you getting this money from to build this pavilion that's out there? And then your counterpart, why are you not addressing all the incident reports? And why is your underling, Robin, stopping all the EEOC complaints from going past Ms. Arletha Wills' desk? Anytime that there's an incident report or an EEOC complaint filed against a staff member there's no way that it should stop at the top, through you or through the chief of security, especially when it's written on him. There's no reason that he should have access to look at an EEOC complaint that's against him for him to call a person that filed a complaint. You know what I mean? How can you even allow him to do that? And when one of your staff members comes to your office to talk to you, at your office, there's no way that Deputy Warden or Warden Doty should be able to come up, whether they're a horse plant or not, and be able to slam her in front of your staff and nothing. You don't do anything about it. You can't sweep that under the rug, man. It's only so much dust that can go under a rug when you sweep it. That's a whole pile, man. You know what I mean? When a person has to have surgery and in the hospital is still just you think about the mental trauma when you as a white supervisor allow another white staff to come up behind, even if they were horse playing, she should have been reprimanded for horse playing in your office. You know what I mean? And the people who stand idly by, I understand that you don't want to lose your job and you don't want to say anything in a closed, in an environment like that, because that is one of the highest paying jobs. But how can you sit idly by and not report when another officer put her hands or his hands on another officer, and one of the officers said that they weren't playing, or one of the officers had to go to the hospital? You know what I mean? And one of the officers is still at work. So I just think that you got so much going on at MSP, and how is your underling able to keep, and you able to keep your horses on state ground? You know what I mean? Are you buying the feed and taking it out there, which is illegal? You can't take your personal stuff out there to feed your animals out there. So how can your horses be out on the grounds to where your family can go out there where the inmates are taking care of them for free, and you're allowed to, or your family is allowed to go out there and ride them at will. And looking has never been a crime, which I don't think the person that you had locked up and shipped to another institution because your daughter said he looked at him funny, but you shipped him off with no incident. First of all, why was she out there by herself with inmates who have charges, who have life sentences, and riding a horse every day? That's the first thing. The second thing, why you didn't do an incident report? See, that's what I mean about the instance of nepotism, how you will punish a person because you think that they offended your family. Because the same thing, the lady said, not for in Money, Mississippi, said that Emmett Till looked at her too hard or whistled at her when he had a lisp. You know what happened to him? They found him in the Tallahassee River. There's a creek that runs through pond. Is that inmate shipped to another institution, or is he in the creek floating in the pond? Or did you read create the lynching of Emmett Till right there, because you think somebody looked at your daughter wrong. You know what I mean? And so we have to be mindful, man, that when we have people of other colors who don't see us the same, you know, like I always tell you, you're not those people daddy. You got to stop saying that. That's racist in its own self. You know what I'm saying? And when you have your underling arbitrarily moving people because of color and because they don't agree with what he says, he said do it his way, then put it in writing. You don't want to put it in writing. He doesn't want to put it in writing and send to them to do it. You want them to do it under the table so you can throw the rock and hide your hand like you've been doing for so many other years. You know what I mean? But I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to post it so you can see it. I'm going to post it so you can see it. You can look, and all you step and fetch who are on here, which I don't mind, because I want him to know. I want him to see. And I want him to get on to call me and dispute it. You know, like I tell you every time, man, I'm going to say this every broadcast. Man, you got my number. You don't have to call nobody. You don't have to call nobody to tell them to complain to them to say, I've never had a problem with him. You know what I mean? I never said you had a problem. I don't have a problem with you. I have a problem with the way that you run your institution and the way that you inflict harm upon my people. You know what I mean? That's the problem that I have with you, sir. You know what I mean? But you're nobody's daddy, man. You know, and I want people to look and see, to Google and see when your dad was at CMCF when you were superintendent down there, and how you had around the clock help to help him. I applaud that, but you could have made the same calls if he was at another institution, if he was at a TWC, and you could have had people checking on him. He should have not been at the same institution with you giving inmates, with you granting inmate favors then and now for taking care of him while he was incarcerated. You know what I mean? There was no different. Yeah, yes, he was your father, but there was no, you shouldn't have treated him any different. First of all, he shouldn't have been there with you, but you shouldn't have treated him any different than you treated any other offender, the 35 or the 3,000 offenders that was there at that time. You know what I mean? He shouldn't have been assigned a special detail crew to look after him hand and feet. And then the same offenders are now housed at Unit 33, the made up unit by you for your special detail, where they call in their own count on their radio. You know what I mean? Man, I'm going to post those too. You know, how you got offenders at MSP leaving out of the gate in the truck with a fuel card. They can't take the fuel man course because they're not supposed to have access to the internet. You got to get on the internet to take the fuel man course. You know what I'm saying? So how are they on the internet? How are they on the internet taking the fuel man course? They didn't. You had to give them the code so they can go down to Double Quick, either in Tallahassee or either in Drew, to buy gas, to purchase gas when they don't get it right here at the thing. When they don't get it right on the place, when the place is out of gas, when the fueling station that parks is out of gas sometimes. You know what I mean? And so, same thing. But what's up with the agriculture? Why have we gotten equipment at MSP that we haven't paid for? But the company will be this week or next week to repossess their agricultural equipment that we purchased on face. Where's the money? Man, tell me, where's the money? That's all I want to know. You know what I mean? What are you doing with the money? You know, now, let me ease on up the road. You know, last night, or night before last, and the last 2 nights, there have been, even though they're on lockdown, there have been stabbings at Greene County and Wilkinson County. And it's because of tactics that the administration is playing with putting an enormous amount of opposing gangs in the same pod. It's basically saying, y'all go ahead and you figure it out on your own. I think it's too many mothers and fathers who have children who are incarcerated for staff to be playing games like that. When a person gets stabbed at Greene County and can call to another institution, whether it's Parchman or Wilkerson County, and then another series of stabbing take place, and to CMCL, and another series of stabbing take place, then you're setting yourself up for a boiling pot of racial violence like it was in 2000, like it was in 2015 for a whole year, like it was in 2019 for the rise for over 100 people got killed within a year. So what are you trying to hide by causing the mass chaos within the system? I mean, what are you trying to hide? You know what I mean? When you got people calling their loved ones and their families about the violence that's going on and the extortion that's going on from certain people. What's up, man? Love you too. You know, so I think that we have to take a look in the mirror at ourselves. If we're a person who's working and has a complaint, there's sometimes that you're going to have to put aside your fear and step out on faith and know that God has you and you're a champion for righteousness. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we have to, as individuals who go to work there, we have to trust more in our Creator, in God, than we have to in man. You know what I mean? We can't worry about what man is going to do when God has our back. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's we got to stop holding those reserved feelings, man, because time will never change if we continue to do those same things. You know what I mean? And so the only thing that I ask you, man, is to stand up and fight. So I'm finished with MSP, but I'm gonna write these notes down, and I'll be right back at you in about 45 minutes. In about 45 minutes with CMCL. I want to talk about them for a while. If you like this video, man, just share it. Just share it. When it's posted, hit the like button and make sure that you share it. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming, man. But I'm just beginning. I'm just beginning. There's a method to my madness. I can assure you that.